In this video, we're going to cover 8 topics that are non-MEP that you may run into in your Revit projects that keep it from moving out the door. We will cover things like how to deal with grids, how to deal with view templates, how to deal with interstitial levels, and how to deal with scope boxes and more and more. And stick around for that tip number 8, which is one that not many people know about. So stay tuned. I'm currently coaching a client on their move from CAD to Revit. And this is actually happening in their live production environment, which I don't recommend, but this is how we are doing it. And so they're having me jump into some of their projects they have set up to help get them out the door. And I find these things that really should be done early in the project. But as a beginner, of course, we don't know all those tricks. So here we are at the end trying to get them done before it goes out the door. You may find yourself with these kind of issues that are non-MEP. They're just kind of architectural and visibility related, but they're very important to getting quality project out the door. So let's get right into it. So item number 1 is dealing with the grid lines. Now, as you may know, architects put these grid lines in to help us locate things in the plan, and they're usually lined up along column lines or other structural elements or walls. Now, we have no control over where these grids are, and we may, in certain views, want to move the bubbles from one side to the other side, or shorten these lines, or even change how dark these lines are. We have no control right now, so we need to copy monitor these grids into our model, and then we have ultimate control over them. So the procedure for that is to use the copy monitor command. So if you go up to collaborate, and there's a copy monitor button that drops down, and we need to pick a link. Current project is our MEP project that we're in. We don't use that. We want to use the architectural link. This background is actually a linked architectural Revit file that we brought into our MEP model. So we're going to select the link, and if we hover over it and we're zoomed out enough, we can see the blue line light up. That means I'm selecting the architectural linked model. Click on that. And then over here, there's another chance to hit a copy button. And copy actually does a copy and monitor. And we want to select multiple grids at the same time. So click the multiple, and then we can pick them. Now we can click them individually and hold control down and pick them all, or we can simply window around them, make sure we catch all of the grid lines. And then we can use this powerful little filter or funnel button to filter out what we don't want to select. So we want to get rid of the floors and the walls that we selected. Now we only have grids. Okay. Now we want to finish down here. The first finish, not the top finish. The bottom finish is finishing the selection of multiple items. So hit that, and then it kicks us out of the copy command. So go back to copy monitor and then finish the actual copy. There. Now if you hover over a grid line, you can see that we have control of it. So now we can take this grid, for example, turn off the bubble there and turn it on over here. And I can take these and I can move them down. But wait, you say there's still another set of grids. We still have the architectural grid showing up in this view, so we need to turn that off. How do we turn that off? Well, we go over here to the visibility graphics, overrides, and up top you'll have model, annotation, analytical model, import categories, filters, Revit links. We want to get to the Revit links, and you can see here, here's our warehouse architectural link. It's named architectural for easy identification. By default, its display settings are set up as by host view, while our model, our MEP model, is the host. We are hosting that architectural model. So right now it's controlled by the way we set up our own model. We have grids on. So we need to get into this and change it from host to custom. Ignore the rest of this, and then we just go into the model category. We want to make sure those are custom, and then the annotation, we want to make sure those are custom as well. Now we have control of all the annotation categories inside our Revit link as it shows up top. We go down to grids, turn those off, and say okay. Okay a few times. Now we've turned off the grids in our architectural link, and we have ultimate control on ours. So now we can control the length of these and all that. Now you may want further control. What happens often is an architect would request that we have these grid lines not so dark. Well, how do we lighten these? Well, we can go into our own visibility graphics. Now we're in our model categories, in our annotation categories, and go down to grids. Now this is again in our model, not the architectural. grids. And over here on the right, this thing's called halftone. We can turn those grids into a halftone, which kind of lightens them up. You can see they got a bit lighter. Now, sometimes that's still not light enough. So here's a little pro tip on how to lighten them up even further. Click on a grid, and then over here in the properties, if you go to the edit type, we're actually going to edit the type properties of this grid family, which is the 1/4-inch bubble style. And segment color. That means the line. So if you click on black and pick something lighter, like try this gray right there. Okay. See how that just really lightened up that grid line. It's barely visible. It's very faint. It's enough to see it, but that may be what you need. So again, there's a little pro tip for you on how to lighten up those grid lines. Now, tip number 2. Similar idea, but what if the architect's lines are just too dark? We want our MEP lines to stand out. And again, this model doesn't have any of that in it right now because I'm just showing some non-MEP solutions. But if we want to lighten up the architecture, how do we do that? Again, go into your visibility graphics and go into your link, the Revit links again. Now, here, where we have our model brought in, where we did the custom already, you can also halftone it. And then clicking Underlay also makes our MEP items appear on top, stacked on top of the graphics of the background. But halftone will fade the architecture even more. It's not as light as the grid lines, which is good, but it's somewhat lighter than what our lines would look like. And you can also do the same thing to these room tags as a little bonus. Go into your visibility graphics, and then it's an annotation category in our model again. We're in ours. Go down to the room tags, right here, room tags, and you can make those halftone as well. So anything that you want to be lighter, pick on halftone. And there they kind of get gray. They get less visible as well. Tip number 3, if for some reason this halftone ends up being too light or too dark with just clicking that halftone button, we have control over that halftone itself. So if you go up to Manage and go to Additional Settings, this big wrench, down here is a halftone underlay category. Click on that. Now you have a brightness slider for your halftone. Some monitors or some systems, the halftone is too light, and sometimes it already may be down to 50. And you'll see it's just too light, too dim. So that is where you get to that halftone underlay. So you can crank that up, and I usually around 70, 75 is what works for me, but it all depends on your system. But that is how you can get to that halftone underlay. It globally changes all the halftones. Now, tip number 4 has to do with trying to think about doing all of this visibility stuff for every single one of our plans. And right now we may have 3 floor plans, and we'll have 3 lighting plans, and we'll have 3 technology plans, and then we have enlarged plans and all this. I don't want to have to set this up for every single view. So remember the power of view templates. We can turn this view's visibility into a template. Right now it says none. There's no view template. And here's a few that are already in here. If you don't already have one made up that you want, you can just create one from this view. So simply go right click on this view you're in, first floor overall plan, and say up here, create view template from view. So we're going to create a view template right now. So we're going to call it something like ER. This is going to be an overall power view. And then I'm going to put the scale in this, 1/8 inch, because that's part of the view template. Overall power view 1/8. Okay. Now I can go into my second floor overall plan and apply all these changes I just made, even the grid visibility, by taking the view template and using it. Overall, applying it here, say, okay, bam, all the architectural grids disappeared. Things are lighter. The only thing this won't handle is the grid controls itself, like the bubbles, things like that. That is a view by view thing because that can vary view by view, but it controls all of your visibility graphics. What's on, what's off. What's light, what's dark. Now, tip 5 deals with how to rein in what is visible. If I go down to one of my sheets that I have set up, first floor overall plan power, and I've already dragged my plan onto here, but as you can see, it's huge and it's got the elevation tags and all this shows, and my grids are way out here. How can I crop this? I could go in and crop it If I turn on the crop view right here and turn on the crop region visible, then a box shows up that I can start using to crop my view. And as I crop it down, it also crops the grid bubbles. As you can see, they get pulled in. So I can do that and crop that down. That's something you might find yourself doing at the last second to make things fit. But then I have to go into my second floor and do the same cropping. So there is a shortcut. The way we do that, let's turn off all of this cropping, is we're going to create what's called a scope box. So if we go up to View, and over here is Scope Box. And it's just a rectangular box that you pick 2 points. So I'm going to pick it somewhat like right here. And I can always move this. And I'm going to drag it down to the bottom right and just encompass enough of my building there. And then I give it a name. I name this scope box, and I will call this something like Overall. Apply that, and then get out of that. So now I've got a scope box, and I actually need to apply it. So down here where it says Scope Box under Extents, None, let's click on Overall, and that will instantly crop it. As you can see, it got rid of all that extraneous stuff. If I go back to my sheet, there it is. And it may have, it says right now, no title. So we can move the title by itself if we need to, or we can just drag the plan back over. Whatever we need to do to make this look right. If we go to the second floor plan, now we can apply that same scope box. Here we go, Scope Box. Overall, right there. So you can do this, and this scope box will even work for the lighting plans. This is an incredibly valuable tool to use. Now, one thing I'll point out about a scope box too is it's a 3-dimensional thing. Go to my 3D view here. Here's the green scope box. You can see it has a height. So we want to make sure that we're encompassing the entire building vertically and horizontally. Tip 6 deals with the levels and the visibility of things. So right now I'm on my first floor overall plan, which is associated level 1. And we have this little office inside here, and things look okay to me. If I go to second floor, how do things look? Well, I know from looking at the architectural plans that there's actually a second floor in this little office room, but I can't see it, what's going on. Well, we need to take a look at the section through this building to see what's going on. And I've already got a section cut right here. So let's go look at that section right now. Here's my levels, and let's move this up higher. Okay. And I'm pulling these out because I don't want to see the architectural levels. Level 1, level 2, and a roof. Level 2 for the entire warehouse is way up here at 17 feet. But then there's an office, roof office at 18 feet, and there's a level 2 office at 9 feet. So we have some other levels in here that are different than our basic level 1, level 2 roof. So we need to pay attention to these, what I call interstitial levels. Now, this can happen with a separate building that's just outside of your main building. It can happen with a portion of your building that maybe is a gymnasium with a classroom next to it. So we may need some additional levels in our plan that we can draw floor plans in. So we may need to add level 2 office and create a separate plan just for that level 2 office. Well, you can add a level is you can right click and just say create similar. And we can just put this close. And because this is cropped, I can't pull it clear out. There we go. And we can call this the same as the architect, L2 office. Now that we have this level created, we need to line it up with the other level 2 office. So we were going to use the modify align to this one from this one. There we go. Now they match. And I've already created a floor plan for that. It's called second floor office power plan. You click on that. Now the rooms show up properly in my floor plan. Now I can add my room tags and everything looks the way it should. And of course I need to apply the view template to this overall power. There we go. Tip number 7 has to do with how things look maybe around the perimeter. So let's go to a roof overall plan. This plan was set up at the roof level. As we saw in that section, we have a roof up here, and it looks like we have a parapet wall, which sticks up above the roof. So on a roof plan, we want to show that parapet wall, and then we're going to be showing mechanical equipment, electrical equipment, things on the roof. But what we've noticed is this back wall doesn't show up. Now, how can I make that show up? Well, what happens here is possibly the architect's model isn't quite right. Sometimes you'll find that you have a preliminary architectural model that's not quite done, but we would like our plans to look right, or maybe the architect isn't going to go ahead and model this as existing building. They're not going to model the entire thing. So here's a little trick you can do to get things to show up. Let's look in 3D how this looks. As you can see, our wall you can see it's down there, but it's too low. So we need to make our view look a little lower, but I don't want to make the whole view look lower. If I make the whole view look lower, I'm going to see things below the roof. I only want to see this wall. There's a thing under view, if you go down to plan views, called a plan region. Now I've got videos that show you how to deal with this plan region for things like full size areas of a building or a whole wing. But you can use this strategically just to change the view range of a certain piece of your view. For example, plan region. I'm in sketch mode. Let's go to rectangular. I just want to put a rectangle around this back wall. And I can move these boundaries around. Once they're in, it's a pink line. I move that around. So I just want this back wall, I've got it surrounded, to have a different view range to look lower. So for example, I'm done with that. Now I want to set its view range over here to edit view range. The view range of this roof plan is already set up as roof cut plane of 4. Well, maybe I want the bottom to be lower. Let's go something like 3 feet, -3. So my offset will be negative 3 feet below the roof. And then the view depth also goes below the roof. So I need to make it the same. Okay. Now, as you can see, that wall pops into view. So now this looks like a complete roof plan with all of the walls showing. And I've only had to modify the view range of that one wall, not the entire view. So use plan region to your advantage to make certain things visible. Now this final tip, number 8, is a special one in that I don't see it used that often, at least in the MEP industry. What is common is to use what's called a callout to enlarge an area. So for example, this little office in here, we want to enlarge this to maybe a 1/4 inch scale so we can show a little finer detail. It won't be as cluttered. So using a callout is pretty common. Use a callout, use a rectangle, and just rectangle around that. And then I can move this callout circle where I want. You've seen architects do this. And that creates a separate view with the callout name. And then I can rename this something like first floor enlarged office plan power. And that eventually will fill in with the sheet number that I drag this to. So that's a very common thing. Now, I can also go to the second floor. Now remember, we have to go to the separate second floor of this office and do another callout. So let's do another callout. I want the second floor. Again, this part is fairly common. And then we will call this something similar. Second floor office enlarged plan power. There we go. So that's pretty common. This means that I have to have sheets or drawings with both of these enlarged views so that I can show both of these tags on separate views. So if I go to my sheet with my first floor, so then I would need to bring my second floor office overall plan in here as well. And so now I need both of these plans just to show these callouts, and that eats up real estate. And sometimes if it's big enough, it'll take up 2 sheets. So one thing you can do is instead of having to have both of these overall plans just for callouts, I'm going to create 2 callouts on one plan. For example, first floor overall power, I want to put a callout in here for the second floor plan, but from here. Well, how can I do that? If I do a callout here, it creates a level 1 plan, not a level 2 plan. What I can do under callouts, you will see callout rectangle up here. Before you start drawing anything, say that you want to reference another view, a view that you've already created. I want this callout to actually reference this second floor enlarged office plan. So click on that. Now I can draw it, and I can just draw it right on top of the other one if I want. And so I can take this and I can move it to match it if that's something you want to do. And it'll be close. There we go. And now, as you can see, I have another one. Now, it says sim by it because it means there's already a callout made, and this one would be similar, but it gets the point across that now I have this one view, but it references both floors from this one enlarged view. If you found these tips helpful, check out this video I've got posted on the screen above for some more Revit MEP tricks.